Welcome back. It's the New York Gun Guys. My name is John.
My name's Taylor.
Taylor.
What's up?
It's been a while.
It has. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. I was out sick from work, which means, can't have any friends over. Everyone thought I had COVID, but I did not have COVID. I got a test, and I was negative.
Negative COVID.
I was just regular, normal.
Normal sick.
Every other sickness does still exist.
Yes. You can still get sick out there, people.
Yeah, it's not like COVID. It's like if anything happens, you're like, oh man, like I kind of don't feel. Oh fuck, you have.
Oh,
COVID.
I have
like,
COVID.
Dude,
You
like,
have
no,
COVID.
I don't
Stay
have
away.
COVID. Fuck. God damn. But I had to get a test to go back to work. It was negative, and so that's it. I'm,
Very happy.
Yeah. For
Glad
sure.
to be back.
Yeah. So glad to have you over at my house at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Listen, my guy, this is what we got to do in order to keep the people entertained. If you call it that.
Keep the people happy.
Yeah. Yeah, we try to. I know sometimes we do like episodes at night, but today we're doing an episode in the morning.
Can you hear it in our voice?
Yeah, John's like,
you can
just
definitely.
woke
I can
up.
hear it in your voice.
I sat in traffic. Took me like.
I was curious why it took you so long to get here.
Dude, traffic, man.
That's wild.
Yeah,
usually,
Parkway.
like you text me like, "Yo, I'm on my way."
I know. A half hour
And,
later,
like,
I show up.
Not. It's like 20 minutes later. You're like, "Yo, I'm here." But
Yeah,
I woke up and I was like, what
took me like
been
45
30
minutes to get here.
Yeah, that's fucked up, man.
It's traffic, my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely no stranger to traffic, but it's usually not that bad for you.
Welcome to downstate Long Island, New York.
Yeah, pretty much. So what's going on in the world?
Oh my God, there's so much shit going on in the world, but mainly focusing on a few topics today. The first one, it's going to be we're like a week or two behind in the current state of affairs, but things that we wanted to talk about.
Yeah, first of all, rest in peace to the 13 Marines.
Yeah.
That Biden totally is responsible for. Dude, how like if this was a certain other politician?
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it would be like a game over for him.
I know.
They'd be rioting in the streets, calling for his
Right.
resignation,
His impeachment.
Yeah, like
Bringing him up on war crimes. And the sad part about that is, man.
Well, he did be bringing him up on war crimes for the drone strike that happened after, which killed
civilians.
Killed a family.
Yeah.
I read they came out and said like, oh, there was a terror target. Nicely done.
The fucking microphone just fell off the table.
Yeah.
Shit.
So
Keep going.
Just right here, tighten this.
No, it fell off the table.
Oh, so so move over here where this one's like pretty strong. So they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna drone strike after the suicide bomber at the airport killed the 13 Marines, and they were like, oh, we drone striked and we got like a terror target, and then like it came out, it was like some guy arriving home to his family, and like his kids came running out to say hello to him, and like the drone strike killed all of them.
Took a page from Obama's playbook.
I'm just saying, like, it's fucked up, and there's very little coverage about it that I saw. It's like the system's broken, man, for this guy. Like,
it
he
really
just does
is.
whatever he wants. Taylor, why don't you at least? No, I guess you can't, right?
I could try and move the mic, but it's just going to be a pain in the ass. Just some fine quality equipment here. We're not whoring on
table.
Patreon or anything for some new equipment.
It's the table, because it's like a plastic folding table. That's why.
Yeah.
So the thing doesn't dig in the right way. Yeah.
I'm just going to do my best here, ladies and gentlemen. We're mostly guys, because I don't think any chicks listen to us.
Doubt it. I wouldn't listen to us if I was a lovely young lady.
All right, I think I got it. I'm just going to leave it like this and hope it doesn't fucking fall.
It probably will.
All right. Well, don't shake the table too much.
Well, what do you think about like the whole thing?
What I think is the totality of the circumstances, meaning that Trump had put in a place, because I don't think we should be in Afghanistan anymore. I don't think we should have been there for as long as we did. But how do you leave a country that you occupied for so long?
Well,
and
I can tell you how you don't leave.
No, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. You
Right.
don't just pack up in the middle of the night and leave a vacuum. Because ultimately, if we go back a little bit, that's how kind of ISIS was created. There was a power vacuum left, and ISIS kind of came in and took over.
Right.
They kind of filled the void of that region's need for some sort of, I say tribal, not in like a derogatory sense, but literally like a lot of Afghan and Middle Eastern cultures are very tribal. There's different regions that are ruled by different tribal leaders. So it created a power vacuum, and that's how ISIS kind of came in and spread their ideology. The same thing happened with this. The Afghan army, we were supposed to set up and equip, and we said, all right, we came in, we fucked your country over for long enough, but we're going to help you guys out if you really want democracy and American help. We're going to give you guys helicopters, aircraft. We're going to give you guys ground equipment, infantry equipment. And then what happened was we just fucking up and left, and they're like, hey, we need an airstrike. Oh, you left the helicopters and you smashed all the avionics in them?
Going beyond that, like, the U.S. really set them up to try and fend for themselves, but with the help
of America.
We had basically the infrastructure, right? So we had the capability to do drone strikes. They don't. Right. And they may have an Air Force, but they're not the ones who were upkeeping the Air Force. They weren't the ones doing the repairs to their airplanes and things like that. That was all U.S. contractors and things like that. So when all that disappears, you're going to have an army of people who they may have been trained to do. And I've seen videos showing that they were not very good at fighting. I don't know. I was not there, but just in regards to their Air Force, for example, when you take away the people who fix your aircraft, and you're like, but you're trained to fly and shoot out the. But it's like, but we can't fly the fucking obviously
we can't fix the error message on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
I turned it off and turned it back on.
Yeah, I power cycled it.
Thank you for calling Microsoft Blackhawk support.
Yeah, right, exactly.
For Pashtu, press 1.
So it's like they really, I don't know. And if you wanted to leave, I'm not a military tactician.
Me neither.
I don't know, but it just seems like if you're gonna pull out, at least you want to know you're gonna do it, right? So get your civilians out of there,
right?
Get everybody who you said, they're going. Oh, we're gonna take all the citizens and the passport holders and
the people that helped us out and all the translators
who are being hunted down by ISIS and the Taliban now, just being fucking murdered.
Right.
And
then you leave, you secure the airport as your base of operations, or even you had Bagram. You had all these, these places that you could hold.
They gave Bagram away.
They did. They literally just turned off the power and just left
and walked off. What the?
So what do you think is going to happen in an unsecured airport as you're trying to get the fuck out of there? People are going to be like, "Oh shit, that plane's leaving. I want to get on that." And then you have people falling off. Airplanes.
Yeah.
And you have helicopters.
Fell out of the wheel well.
I know.
Of the fucking transport aircraft.
And you know what? Like you said, if this was our last president, if this was Trump, it would. Oh my God, they would have fucking.
Of course.
There would have been a congressional investigation. There would have been this. There would have been that. But of course, it's Biden, and the people that are handling and controlling Biden aren't allowing any sort of criticism to come through.
Right.
I watch videos of Biden. And he's like, oh, who do I call on next for question? Or, oh, that's not the question that I was supposed to answer. But anyway,
right.
Or, he's fumbling through a sheet. I'm like,
well, yeah, the questions are pre-screened.
Who the fuck is controlling the president?
Somebody out there is. I mean, he always says they.
I know.
Who's they?
Who the fuck is
He's
they?
Like, oh yeah, this is. They gave me a list. Who the fuck
they told
is
me
they?
I can't.
You're the fucking guy.
Answer any more questions. I know. The guy's a fucking.
They're telling me I
clown.
can only answer 3. Who's they?
The guy just needs to go sit on a
rocking chair.
rocking
You're the most
chair.
powerful man in the free world, and you're saying they told me not to. What the fuck are you talking about? They.
Right.
There is no they.
He needs to just go sit on a rocking chair somewhere on a porch and just sip some lemonade.
Crazy, man.
I know.
Who is? Anytime I hear anything, any speech, and he's just like, "Well, they told me tips." Like, who the fuck? I want to know. I want they to come out on the stage and be like, "Yeah, I'm the guy who told him no, he can't answer questions." Like, who the fuck? Who are you? It's not like they're talking about a battle somewhere, and they're like, "Well, they," and he's talking about the generals.
Yeah.
It's just they told me I can't answer questions. Who is in charge of you, sir?
I know. It's ridiculous.
Fuck. It's
well,
crazy.
Speaking of Biden,
and also just before, because we missed it, just want to highlight all the heroes who and civilians who passed on 9/11.
Yeah, that 20 years ago, my guy.
Yeah, 20 years ago.
I remember the day very well. I was
do too.
sitting in 6th grade math class.
Oh yeah,
and
you're old, man. I was in 4th grade.
People just started getting the phones started ringing in the classroom, and they were, "Oh, so and so, please go to the office. Oh, so and so, please go to the office." And then it just happened all and all and all. And then I remember, this is how crazy the fucking late 90s, early 2000s was. I remember getting pulled out of the school with my mother, but by my mother. And I'm walking in front of the school, and I think to myself, because I knew nothing about the world. You're young. You don't know the problems of the Middle East and whatever. So I remember thinking as I'm walking with my mom, I'm like, she's like, "Oh, somebody attacked New York City." She said it kind of, and I'm like, "Ah, I bet it was the Russians." Because in every movie in the
Wow.
90s, the Russians were the bad guys.
Yeah.
The Middle Eastern terrorists was not really a thing yet in the movies. It was all
right.
the James Bond, Russian, Ivan Dragos.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, I remember going home and turning on the news, and
Right.
there was the videos. And I didn't know until years later, my father told me about like what happened with him on 9/11, because he worked in Brooklyn Heights. We had a repair shop in Brooklyn Heights, and right across the river from downtown Manhattan under the Brooklyn Bridge.
Sure.
And he was telling me about the day. Years later, I asked him like, what happened? Because I tried calling him that day, and I couldn't get a hold of him or whatever until much later. And he was like, well, we didn't see the first plane strike, and then we heard something was going on. We thought it was like a big building fire or something because you saw the smoke and whatever. And then, you saw the second plane hit, and he's like, oh, shit's fucked up. People were walking across the Brooklyn Bridge.
Right.
Because literally our shop was on Cadman Plaza, Old Fulton Street, and it's literally pretty much right under the bridge. And people were coming over the bridge and whatever, and the clouds, the smoke, and the debris started coming over, and he's like, we went into the shop, closed the doors, the big, steel roll-down doors, and just kind of waited it out for a little bit, and then we had to get the fuck out of there. It was a crazy time, man. It really was. And I remember being at home and watching everything on the news going on. And, not until years later did a lot of the video footage of the people jumping out of the windows and the phone calls from the airplane or the people in the offices. And
I can't listen to any of that shit, man. I
dude,
can't.
I know. And then now,
and I find it so difficult to listen to, like, to watch any documentaries on it, because they always put in like the phone calls, and, like, the people basically like calling their
loved ones,
wives or loved ones, and being like, about to die. Like I can't. Like right now, I'm just talking about it, dude. I'm getting like chills.
And
I can't watch it. I just can't.
And nowadays, people are using 9/11 as like, I'm watching the news. There was like a school or something. I forget where. I don't have this story in front of me. But basically, they took down some sort of like 9/11 memorial because it's deemed like racially insensitive or
you
something.
sent it to me. It was.
And
I
then
forgot that girl's name.
there was a guy also on a college campus, some like Middle Eastern guy, who was removing the flags from the lawn and putting them in garbage bags.
Well, what you had sent me was that girl. I think her tag is like the half black conservative or something.
Yeah, I think it was from PragerU. I shared it with you.
She's gaining like super momentum. She's awesome. But you sent me, and it was like a group of kids wore red, white, and blue.
Right.
And they were told to take it off because not everybody views 9/11 the same way. And she's like, how the
that's what it was.
Like, how do you not view it the same way as everybody else? I just want to find exactly what her thing is, because give her a hat tip. I don't want to.
Yeah, it was from PragerU, I think. That she was. They shared her video. She's part of PragerU.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure everybody views it the same way, that America was attacked, that guys 3,000 miles away in some caves got the better of the U.S.
Crazy, man.
And that we never expected something like that to happen on U.S. soil. And close to 3,000 people died at that day.
Right.
And then years later, 20 years later, people are still dying of cancer from, first responders are still having issues. Remember when Jon Stewart went before Congress and testified and and it's just like...
It's fucking crazy.
I know, man. I know. But that 20 years ago, man. And
I can't believe that was 20 years ago. I was in 4th grade, dude.
And the world changed that day. Before that, the world was a very different place. And it really, kids growing up nowadays don't know going on an airplane without going through TSA. Like I remember as a kid going, not going through TSA, just going through metal detector, whatever.
I don't know,
having your grandparents walk you to the terminal to see you off at the plane.
Walking on the tarmac?
No. Well, sometimes they do that.
You could have back in like the 80s.
Oh yeah.
But that like ended after 9/11. Super ended.
No, not really, because at certain airports, like when I go out to visit family in California, they walk us out in the tarmac and we go upstairs to go onto the airplane.
Okay, you don't have a terminal there?
No.
Like a terminal like
no, there's here? No. So it depends on the plane, but no, I've done it a handful of times.
That's cool.
In all honesty. But yeah, man, that fucking really kind of sobers you up. You listen to people's stories, first responder stories. You look at the pictures, and even in a gun related thing, man, you see all that's left of a first responder that they found was his gun. In the wreckage.
Firearms.
Yeah, firearms, shields. And that's all that they found of him. And that's really, or him or her.
Her. There's a famous one. I think her was a police officer in New York City. Her last name, I believe, was Smith. and there's a famous picture of her. She's like running. She's got the revolver.
Yeah.
And she's like running with a guy who's like bleeding.
Yeah.
And like somebody took that picture of her. And then she ended up she was like last seen going back into like the South Tower right before it collapsed. Right. And the tower collapsed. And after it collapsed, there was a radio transmission from a female officer calling for help, and they had determined that was her.
Wow.
After the fucking building collapsed,
right.
she was trapped in there, and she fucking put over one last transmission for help, and then like she ultimately like passed away. It's fucking, dude, like I can't even. It's hard to talk about.
I don't get how people view anything differently that day. I don't get how these fucking people view it as anything different.
I have no idea.
You know,
it's got to be a fringe amount of people, dude. There's no way it's the majority of people.
But now the fringe on the left is becoming the norm, and that's the scary part, dude.
I mean, I have not heard anybody. I have not personally heard anyone mention anything like about
personally.
You know what I mean?
But
like,
it's just on like not weird social media, but mainstream conservative social media that covers it.
Like,
yeah, I know.
It's fucked up, but
yeah, it really is, man.
Yeah. But thank you to everybody, you know.
Yeah, I know.
You know, anyone still around who... Oh, that's another thing, like, going back to Afghanistan, like, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, well, you know, like, they're just getting the country back that they, like, had before we were even there. But, like, what a lot of people don't realize is, like, 9/11 happened 20 years ago. Like, there's a fuck ton of people who never experienced that, like, Taliban rule.
Right. You
know, like, we've been there setting up their country for people to have rights and shit for fucking 20 years. Like, if you were born and if you're a 16-year-old girl or a 17-year-old girl, you've never experienced Taliban rule, and now they're just like, they're getting thrown back into it. These people like fucking rape women.
Oh, yeah. They beat them.
Lock them in the fucking basement, rape them. That's it. Like, that's it. Like, and we have to trust the Taliban, and we fucking,
No,
dude, I don't get it, man.
I don't trust the Taliban one bit.
No, I don't know how the fuck you would. And like, people are like asking Biden, "Do you trust the Taliban?" He's like, "Well, no," whatever the fuck he says, whatever they told him to say.
Yeah.
You know, so, dude, it's fucked up. But before we move on, I just want to thank all service people.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Anyone who has family who lost a loved one in 9/11.
We're still battling illnesses, and
right.
I know we're close to Manhattan to some degree, on Long Island, and a lot of people from Long Island and neighboring counties and upstate Pennsylvania. I mean, Flight 93 too.
Right. And if you're a gun person who doesn't necessarily like the police, just remember, because there isn't not everybody likes the police, right? Just don't forget that.
I know there was a lot of good guys that
do
day
fucking
that,
die, doing this type of shit. You don't have to like everybody you meet, but
there was a lot of people who ran back into those towers
and never came out. It's amazing.
Regardless of if they had a shield or not, too. People were going in and out, helping and whatever.
I mean, firefighters too. Let's not forget that there's a lot of firefighters that died on 9/11.
EMS, and just normal civilians trying to get people out.
And then service men and women who ended up going overseas and trying to take these people out. So.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for that. Tell me about this guy, Chipman.
Yeah, so
this was the Biden, the
Biden nominee to the head of the ATF, basically,
right? Which was a big problem. So give me a little bit of give me some background on this guy. Like what's he about?
David Chipman is an asshole.
Okay, we know that most of them are.
Infamously, he was at the siege of Waco, where I think it was 75 people from the Koresh.
Where they fucking burned the building down with them. Jesus. Dude.
Yeah. Well, it was alleged that the Koresh family started the fire, but then I know.
Well,
but they show up with Hueys and tanks.
Wasn't he seen standing over the dead, burning bodies of children?
I mean, it wasn't burning bodies, but it was the burnt rubble of the remains of what was going on.
Damn.
He is notorious in the anti-gun world for being a consultant to several anti-gun groups. Moms Demand, all those fucking assholes, and. When you want to be the head of the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, you should really be impartial. You should just be about the law. You shouldn't be about advocacy.
The whole thing is everyone has a bias side to them,
right?
One way or the other, right? Like we're biased toward the Second Amendment, and some people are a little biased against it in some ways. But when you nominate somebody who's fucking basically their whole fucking job,
right?
Their career basically was built around.
Wanting to ban firearms.
Right, destroying the Second Amendment. Like you're an advocacy group against 2A.
Right.
You have no business being. You have too many ties to the anti-gun group.
He said publicly he wanted to ban AR-15s.
Right. You could be taking fucking you have all these connections to the anti-gun agenda, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there was money given to you. You petitioned these people for money for the anti-gun group. Like there's too much riding on.
Right.
All someone has to do is be like, hey, don't forget, I donated you a lot of money, so let's push this in this direction. And what's he gonna? He's gonna have no choice.
Right. And when they interviewed him, when they grilled him in the hearings and stuff, they were basically like, what's an assault weapon? He's like, well, I would concede to what Congress had said and this. He's like, no. If you're going to be the head of a regulatory agency or a law enforcement agency, what is your definition of assault weapon?
Right.
That's a legal definition. And he wouldn't define it. He wouldn't even say the definition that was passed in 94. He was like, well, I would just follow what. It's like, no. And then, honestly, I'm reading this article from the New York Times here. I have it in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
But they couldn't get 50 votes past the Democratic-controlled Senate.
Yeah.
So it's not even, Republicans blocked it. No, it was a Democratic-controlled Senate.
Dude.
Also,
it's bad when even the Democrats are like, yeah, we can't do it. Like, it actually gives me a little bit of faith.
Right.
Like, just a shred that, like, still some Democrats, like, or even they are like, damn, we just we can't do it. We just we can't do it. So
yeah, I mean
that's good.
This I want to read these two paragraphs from.
You got to
New
speak
York
a little
Times.
more into the mic.
Oh, sorry, I had to readjust.
Point it up a little bit because I think
I know it keeps falling.
There's
down.
there's like a right at the top is like where it like kind of starts to buzz.
Yeah. So I just want to read these two articles. Oh shit, the fucking thing keeps falling. Some fine quality equipment we have here, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not the equipment, it's you.
No, it doesn't stay on the table.
But look at mine. Mine hasn't moved since the day I put it up.
No, but yours is over the table. Mine is hanging off the edge. So
that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's
anyway, fuck
being
yourself.
Over the it's a boom.
But it won't. It doesn't secure to the table.
We'll fix it after this.
Fucking falling.
We'll fix it after this.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, I want to read these two paragraphs. Basically, it says, in recent weeks, Senator Angus King, a Maine independent who caucuses with Democrats, told the Biden administration and leadership officials that he could not support the nomination, citing blunt public statements that Mr. Chipman had made about gun owners. People familiar with the situation said. Even a phone call from Mr. Biden last month asking Mr. King to drop his objections and reminding the senator that Mr. Chipman was himself a gun owner was not enough to save the nomination, according to a senior administration official. So, he owns guns. He's looking out for your interests.
I bet this guy's got a fucking pile of guns that, like, normal people can't own. And he's just like, nope, you can't have it. Rules for thee and not for me.
Well,
I'm interested. I would really like to know. God damn, Taylor. Just get rid of that thing.
I know. I'm fucking ditching the pop filter. Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with this.
Jesus, he's all over the place.
Fucking, I've tightened this thing so goddamn much. It's just because all the weight's hanging off the table.
No, that's not the issue. The issue is where that bottom piece went in. The table is too soft there to support the downward force. So we'll move it. You got to move it. Yeah, we'll fix it after this. But
yeah.
Jesus, you just dropped your phone. Yeah, this guy is all over the place today,
man. Whatevs.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and then even Joe Manchin from Democrat from West Virginia originally said he was open to the pick. Told the White House that he had also soured on the selection. So it's not just Republicans. Democrats, Democrats from strong gun-owning states are like, look, this guy's talked smack about gun owners. He says he wants to ban commonly owned firearms. This guy is a schmuck, basically. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, I don't get it.
But my whole thing is, he just buckled under the...
What were they thinking even fucking... I mean, I know
Biden knows what they were... He wanted somebody anti-gun.
But they had to have known.
Of course they knew. No, but they thought getting through a democratically controlled Senate, it would be a shoo-in.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they had to have known he wasn't going to make it through.
No.
Jesus.
I mean,
they talk about this shit, though. Like, they talk about this stuff. But maybe, like, once it came down to the questioning and they were like, yeah, dude, this is going to be a bad luck. We can't.
Right.
I mean, people have to remember that when you're a Democrat who was elected in like a state that supports the 2A,
pro-gun state,
you have to kind of walk the line. You can't just go full on radical left and ban everything, just because you're a Dem,
right?
You still want to get reelected next term. So
yeah. So this guy is an asshole. I'm glad he's not elected.
Facts.
But
appointed.
Oh yeah, appointed. Sorry, but it just goes to show you what the Biden administration is willing to do,
right,
in order to push through their agenda.
It is nice that the check and balance system of the government is still there. Like,
to some degree, yes.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about the group of people, the liberals, who wanted to get rid of the fucking filibuster,
right.
which is a fucking key checks and balance system of the government.
Right.
So, don't
right.
We can't just assume every checks and balance system is going to work, because we have people who are just fucking wanting to get rid of it.
Right, but back then, remember, the Democrats were like, the filibuster is the protector of the minority in this.
Yeah, but now that they're in charge, they're like, we need to get rid of the filibuster.
This thing's about
Fuck you.
Fall.
Yeah, well,
I'm just gonna hold it. I'm just gonna sit here and hold this.
You look good like that.
Yeah, holding this big thing in front of my face.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
I know. Make the
careful
jokes.
You don't move your hand in a weird way.
Yeah, I gotta.
Oh yeah. We're gonna hear that on the. So what else is going on?
Well,
who did they nominate? Who did they nominate now?
I don't know. No, they don't have a nomination
It's
now.
been a while, man.
It has, but I think they really got to find someone else. Honestly, they fucking appointed this schmuck to the position, and they thought it was going to go through, but it didn't, thankfully.
Right.
So now they got to find some other schmuck to go.
They can appoint me. I'll take the job.
I would too. I would. I watch videos on YouTube sometimes of like, oh, the ATF's reference collection, or there was a video actually that Vice did about the firearms tracing center in West Virginia, I believe it is, where like if a gun gets used in a crime and somebody contacts the ATF, that's where they go, and they have to like keep all the gun sales records and stuff like that, 4473s and stuff. But they have a reference collection there, and the head of that was giving like a little tour through it. I'm like drooling watching this video. I'm like, holy shit! Like they have like gold-plated Saddam's AK, and they have machine guns, and they have like a reference collection of all this crazy shit. And I'm just looking. I'm like, man. And then the ATF has a reference collection, obviously, a much bigger one, and it's just, god damn, these guys got some cool guns.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, I wish I could have that shit.
You can have that job. You just need to like get whatever degree they're looking for and then fucking apply.
But you can't just go in there and fondle guns. They have a guy that takes care of them, obviously, and like caretakes the collection.
You should be that guy.
I wish I could be. I would be fondling them.
Hell yeah.
And just doing dirty things to the guns.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like checking to make sure they're not dirty.
Yeah, sticking my fingers in the barrels, making sure they're not loaded.
Doing a physical and visual inspection. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, one can dream, right?
So they have no nominee.
No, not at the moment.
Okay, cool.
Next thing we're going to talk about, John, is upstate New York. There was a concealed weapons permit holder who shot and killed a guy who illegally had a firearm and who illegally shot into a crowd of people.
Right.
And the district attorney up there said in a statement that based on the preliminary investigation, it appears that the man who shot this individual saved the lives of several individuals.
Right.
So
it's amazing.
The Syracuse Police Department is still investigating. Okay. So
now this guy is like under threat of death.
So the people who were there and who were saved, basically they're being retaliated against. So the district attorney's office is aware that the man who shot the perpetrator and other witnesses to the incident have received threats and suffered property damage in what they say appears to be retaliation.
Jesus.
So somebody recklessly and illegally shoots into a crowd of people and gets killed because of it. Why should they be retaliated against?
Right.
Maybe people shouldn't be out there committing murder.
Right.
Maybe people shouldn't be illegally carrying firearms and shooting at people.
Right.
Yeah.
I just saw a video. It's not related to this, but there was like a group of people and they were like hanging around cars or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a big group of people. I don't know where this was. And essentially they were like at a gas station.
Yeah.
And these two guys started getting into like a verbal dispute.
Mm-hmm.
And one guy called the other guy a pussy.
Yeah.
And so
he called me a pussy.
Right.
So
the the guy who was called a pussy was like, oh, you know what? You want to see pussy? Takes out a gun. Which, by the way, when you're like in a fist fight, that like makes you even more of a pussy. Like you take out like you can't like defend yourself with your hand. Like you know what I mean? It's just like a one-on-one. The guys are the same size. They were just arguing with each other. So like,
or why should it even get to that point?
But what I'm saying is like, dude, people don't like each other and have words all the time. That's normal, like a normal everyday thing that happens, right? But like if you're gonna have a verbal dispute with somebody and then like your escalation to that is gonna be like, you know what? You want to call me a pussy? Now who's the pussy? I have a gun and I'm gonna shoot you. Like, dude, that's like the biggest pussy move ever. So don't do that. But it's also not legal. But don't do that. And like this is before any hands were thrown. It was just like this guy can't even make the argument that like he thought his life was in danger. Like it was just a one-on-one like screaming match. So the guy pulls the gun and then like gives the gun to somebody else and then goes to fight, throws up his hands, and then like the guy just gets the shit beat out of him, and then the cops show up and arrest him. I'm like, dude, like you couldn't be like a bigger pussy now. Like who's a pussy? Like you fucking like got into an argument, your feelings were hurt because you're a little bitch. You fucking pull a gun, get your ass beat, and then arrested. Like that's fucking great.
Yeah. That's I'm glad it went that way.
Well, I'm glad no one got shot.
Yeah, that's
but it's just like funny, man. Like he was such a little bitch. But so this guy ended up pulling a gun, shooting into a crowd. Didn't hit anybody, thankfully. But there was a bystander with a gun. Stopped the bad guy with the gun.
CCW.
Illegal CCW. Did the other guy have his gun legally or illegally?
No, it was illegally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, it could be legal. And then so good guy with the gun stops a bad guy with a gun. Bad guy with the gun dies.
Right.
And then now these people who stopped the attack are under threat of death. Basically, they're getting
retaliation and such. Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate on that circumstance, but I'm glad everyone was okay, and I'm glad the guy who wantonly endangered the lives of others is not around anymore.
That's crazy, man.
It is, and you know what? This happened upstate, and
it's not on like every news channel. It's like I guess it's just like a local story.
Yeah, it is, but because that's not the agenda they want to push.
But basically, this guy fired into a group of people. I'm assuming it's more than 4.
Oh,
that's considered a mass shooting, right?
Probably.
So like a mass shooting, quote unquote. If someone died, it would be mass shooting,
right? In Syracuse,
but
New
because
York,
because the bad guy with the gun was stopped by a good guy with the gun, it's not considered a mass shooting all of a sudden because statistically it is. So it should be on every single news channel, like mass shooting stopped by good guy with a gun. Like
it doesn't fit their agenda. That's why it's not.
Right. That's why I'm drawing attention to it. It's just. It's ridiculous. Like this is exactly why we have legal firearms is to prevent shit like this or stop it before people do get killed.
Yeah.
And it's not on the news. We have a mass shooting that was not on the news because it was stopped by a good guy with a gun.
Right.
Well, fucked up.
It is. It really is, man. But that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
That is the world we live in, unfortunately. But, stories like these don't happen very often in New York because a lot of people, especially in our area, upstate's a little different, but, don't have the right to carry a firearm. Right. And I say that they ultimately, in my opinion, do have the right, but they're not granted the right to carry a firearm.
They have the right, but they're not granted the permission to utilize that right somehow.
Yeah, that's a better way of describing it.
Right.
And it takes you over a year to get a permit to even just possess a handgun.
Right.
There's a lot of flaws with the permitting system, and that's, the case that's being brought up in the Supreme Court, the New York City case. Remember, we spoke about that a while ago. Where the Supreme Court is taking up the case of New York City.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
So basically, New York City, they were denied.
No, I know that, but like, is there any?
I think they're going to start in November hearing hearing arguments or something like that.
Cool.
But it's a big case because, the last big rights case, I forget whether it was Heller or McDonald, basically said you have the right to possess a handgun in your home.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago denied this man right to have a handgun. He sued, went to the Supreme Court, and I believe it was McDonald, the McDonald case.
Mm-hmm.
And, so the Supreme Court, said you could have a handgun in your home for self-defense.
Right.
Well, the right is to keep and bear arms.
Right.
So bearing means keeping it on you, on your person, bearing it publicly, not just within your house. So, New York City's case is going to be very interesting because they don't give CCW permits to anyone unless you show just cause or you're rich or you pay off, a high-ranking official or something. or you donate to their whatever,
Right.
There's been a lot of stories that came out of the licensing division of, basically kind of backdoor deals.
Mm-hmm.
Pay $10,000 and
in
you'll get
a lot
one.
of places.
Yeah, but it creates a system of corruption, unfortunately.
Of course.
And
I think that even happened in Nassau County or Suffolk County.
probably.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so this is going to be going to the Supreme Court, which is huge.
Dude, it's going to be wild if they say like that's unconstitutional, and which we know it is, but unconstitutional, and then they have to issue them like carry.
Well, the whole thing is my thing is I hope they just don't say, look, the needed clause is okay. If you could show need, then they have to give it to you. But I that's what I feel like that the city's going to argue. It's like, look, we'll give it to him if he just shows a need for it.
Yeah, but in the Constitution, it doesn't show.
Exactly.
And when it goes to the Supreme Court, we're talking about the constitutionality of things. Right. So they could very easily say, like, no, the Constitution doesn't lay out that you need to show cause. It's just you have the natural born right to carry a firearm. And then what are they going to do? They're going to have no choice. You're still going to have to go through a fucking
you're going to have to go through a crazy process.
And I can guarantee you
it's going to cost money.
It's going to cost money.
It's going to take time.
But it can't cost too much money where it's
a prohibitive.
It's, right. And any little thing in your history, they're going to use against you.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, if you got a fucking piss ticket in New York City, they're going to use it against you.
Of course.
So they're going to say, like, oh, well, he shows, like, disregard for the law, so, like, we're not going to give it. And then it's going to be a whole nother fucking case.
Right.
Which will take years to get. But for a lot of people, hopefully, if this pans out the right way, for a lot of people, hopefully this will be the avenue that they could take to protect. Dude, there's so many guns in New York City right now.
Oh, I know.
It's like every other day you hear like a news story about another shooting in the city. Like I saw in the news, it was like there's more shootings right now in New York City than there is in Chicago.
Oh,
and like
shit.
Chicago was like there's like some really bad fucking weekends in the city. So
Chicago Sun-Times.
People need to fucking be able to protect themselves and their families.
Every weekend, the Chicago Sun-Times puts out a weekend violence report.
Yeah.
And it details who was shot, how many people.
Yeah, there was a couple weekends where it was like worse in New York City, which is fucking wild.
That hasn't happened in a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just out of control, man. You're caught with an illegal gun in New York City. You're out,
Well, here's the thing. It's not just New York City, though. Like all of New York State.
Right.
Because the bail reform laws, that's considered like a no bail, I believe. And it depends on your
level.
It depends on your history, too. It's not just like, well, you just automatically get out. There are some things that they could use to remand you. But it seems like it's less likely. You're less likely to be remanded in the city.
Right.
When you're Suffolk County, Nassau County. I'm not sure we really have, like, Nassau and Suffolk really have that, but maybe Nassau has a bigger one. But like not like they. I mean,
no, not
just,
like the city.
But like sheer numbers of people.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just it's crazy, man. Like people do get out very, very, very fast in the city. They just do. And part of it is the agenda. Part of it are the laws. And then some of it's just like they closed Rikers or want to close Rikers, so they're just like, getting rid of people. Like they just can't house people. It's fucking crazy.
Speaking of Rikers, today cover of the Daily News. Horror Island, filth, crowding, suicide, try shock politics on Rikers tour.
Right. So like I saw that like being a corrections officer in New York City, I hear is a tough job.
Yeah.
I hear they make a lot of money just from overtime.
Look at what they got to deal with though.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But not everybody is doing that. Like there are people who don't work in general population. But like they're like doing like doubles every day, like 16 hours. But like I know some people who were corrections officers and then like left and became police officers, and I know police officers that left and became corrections officers too. But they make a lot of money. I mean, it's like blood money, but they make a lot of money. They work for the money.
Yeah.
But damn, dude, like I know people who like make good amount of money, and they're pretty much forced.
Like I said, look what they got to put up with. You're put into the lion's den, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know.
If there's anybody out there who's a CEO, let us know.
Yeah, let us know how your job's going.
We won't drop a dime on you.
No.
But
we're not about that.
But curious,
Yeah, and then just generally, I kind of talk with my family about this sometimes, but just like I don't want to say I'm a pessimist about the future of things, but it's just hard when you look at the current state of things. And even, in the gun owning world in New York, too, it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. Things aren't getting better.
Right.
And, the days are becoming just ever more just filled with just nonsense, more government overreach, inflation, just brainwashing of kids, and it's just like, what do you do about it?
Well, I'm curious if, like, that's really an issue. Like, you mentioned the brainwashing of kids, like the indoctrination of all these liberal agendas. I'm curious if that's, like, actually a big issue, or if it's just, like, we hear a lot about it because we are in tune with, other conservative platforms.
Could be. I don't think it's
outlets.
The norm. I don't think it's, like, the norm.
There's definitely a level of norm of that, right? But then there's, like, the extremist portion of that, or the radical. And I'm curious, like, it is, because, like, a lot of the things we see, it's like, this is what your kids are being taught. It's like, well, is it really, like, is that the norm, or is it, like, a lot of steps below that? And these are, like, the fringe outliers, and there's like, see where we're, like, we may be headed there, but like this is what your children are being taught. Like,
well, it's just scare tactics at that point.
Yeah.
And,
but
I
that's
do
what I'm
fear,
saying,
though,
like,
that it is going that way.
I think it's going that way. Yeah.
I feel like as a
we're
society, we're regressing.
I don't have any kids,
I do.
But not in any schooling.
Not yet. It's, but it's a fear of mine. My wife and I talk sometimes, like, is our son going to accidentally say something that he might have heard us say at home, or you say, and then he's going to get in trouble at school, or, I went shooting with daddy over the weekend.
You have to send and then all of a sudden you got people knocking at your door.
Right, child welfare, yes, whatever bullshit.
I would just fucking not let them in.
No, exactly. Fuck them.
Out of here.
But, it's like, what do you, how do you teach your kids to be, somewhat, quote, normal in this fucked up world? And are you the extremist for wanting to think that way?
Right.
How do you tell your kids it's okay to have your own opinion? It's okay to not feel it's okay to not feel pressured,
When we were in school, which was a long time ago.
When
we were in high school and middle school, did we have this issue where it's like we couldn't say shit? Like,
no, you really didn't. I mean,
like, there was obviously always a level of shit you couldn't say, right?
Right.
It's fucking
right.
Whatever, it was hateful or whatever. Fuck.
Right. You didn't fucking.
But like, But like we said, like I remember saying the Pledge of Allegiance in school.
Yeah.
I don't think they do that anymore.
Some places do, some places don't.
Right.
I do, though, support kids having the option to not do it. Honestly, like, I feel like, okay, government overreach is saying you have to do this.
Right.
Well, if you don't have to do this, then it's freedom.
Right.
So I think that if you want to say it, cool. If you don't want to say it, okay.
Yeah, but there was always people who would just like stand up and not say anything.
Right. I mean,
and that's fine.
I don't think that's all right. But again, it's not my place to dictate who does what in this country. How
about a good example that is like a school prayer? Did your school have a school prayer?
No.
When I was in elementary school, we had a school prayer.
Nah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that either. But it was like the principal would like do the announcements, and they'd be like, "Okay, everybody," and like they would have a school. I mean, no one fucking paid attention. You're in fucking elementary school.
Prayer?
I have no idea, but there was a school prayer, and then they stopped it.
My whole thing with prayer in schools is this: if you go to if you pay to go to a Catholic school, okay, you're going there to learn Catholic.
Yeah,
education.
but there's a difference between like a religious prayer, you know what I mean? Like a religious Our Father who art like the fucking Lord's Prayer.
Yeah.
Like yes, that's something you're gonna get in like a Catholic school, right? But going over the announcement and say, okay, everybody, like just saying like let's have a say let's quote unquote call this a prayer, right? So everybody bow your heads in prayer. Let's I hope everybody's protected. We have a great day at school. Blah, blah,
prayer
blah, blah.
is a weird word for that because
that is the right word for it.
But you're not saying it to any deity. You know what I mean? You could say it's a motivational speech. You're not saying, "Dear God, let's have a good day at school today."
I mean, they might say God.
Maybe
they might.
Listen, religion in schools is something, like I said.
But I'm saying, like, is that religious?
If you use the word prayer and you say amen at the end of it, I think it is. But, if you just want to be non-denominational about it, you just say, hey, everybody close your eyes, think of good thoughts today. You can make it
let me ask you this.
non-religious.
Is a moment of silence religious?
No, it depends on what it's for.
Why? Why is it not?
It depends on what it's for. if you just say, oh, let's have a moment of silence for soldiers killed in Afghanistan, that's not religious. If you say, oh, let's have a moment of silence because the Pope is sick, that's religious.
Why?
Because it's for something religious versus not something religious. You
well,
know,
but the only thing that makes the Pope this Pope is still a person, right? So but the only thing that makes him religious, nothing that makes me more religious or him more religious. He's.
But as somebody who's not a Catholic, I could give two shits about the Pope. You know.
So like if they said, the Pope has cancer, he's dying, let's just have a moment of silence.
That's horrible.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have a moment of silence.
I'd probably be quiet just so that way I'm not the asshole in the room.
So you would recognize the moment of silence.
I mean,
no, but you know what I'm saying?
Just to not be the social asshole. But then again, I'm put in a position of, well, I don't want to. Why should I be subjected to the moment of silence? And this is where I think.
Because I don't think that the moment of silence is because he's the Pope. I think the moment of silence is because the guy's fucking dying of cancer. You know what I mean? It would be like,
well, that's just a societal.
What happens if we have a moment of silence for all the people who died 9/11?
Well, that's not religious.
Okay,
unless you make it religious.
But there's people who were religious in those buildings.
No, I know.
Just
but
like
what
the
I'm getting
Pope
at
is
is
religious.
you just say, "Dear God, we're having a moment of silence for the people of 9/11." Okay, you're making it religious. I'm still going to be quiet because the context of it is the people who died.
Do you think it's going too far if they said okay, let's have a moment of silence, and someone and the person who's leading the moment of silence says quote, dear God, please watch over these people as they fight their battle with cancer. Do you think
to
that's
not be
too
the
religious?
asshole in the room?
But I'm saying,
I'm not going to say anything.
Do you think that's too religious? Is what I'm saying.
I think it is because you might have people that don't believe there is a God.
Okay, so
and I think that in America, if you're in a public institution such as public school,
right,
that should be something that really shouldn't be a part of that. Because remember, there's many different religions. Like, what if God, the God that they're referring to, isn't the God that you believe in? What if you are a Sikh or a Hindu or a Shinto?
But they still have a God.
Yeah, but the way that it's being led isn't about them. That's what I'm getting. And not that I'm one of these hippie inclusive type people, but let's just keep school being school.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it being ABC 1, 2, 3, hanging out with your friends, going to drama class after school or whatever,
right?
And just keep the religion for something you want to do outside of public education. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And then when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, there is the word God in there, obviously.
Correct, there is. So does that make it about God?
Well, it makes it about God in the context of when it was written. So that's why some people, I said earlier, though, some people have the option to not say it. And that's why, the Jehovah's Witnesses don't say it because they don't pledge allegiance to anyone other than God.
Sure.
So, I'm more about freedom of expression, freedom to not be told what to do, but basically do what you want. And, I don't think that certain religious ideas, obviously, and then in school you're going to learn about Mesopotamia and the origins of modern civilization, and there's religion kind of interdispersed into that, whatever. But if you want a religious education,
you're saying from a curriculum standpoint, there are going to be certain things that point to religious things, but from an administration standpoint, you don't want religion threaded into your everyday.
Right.
I get it. Yeah,
when I was growing up, I went to a predominantly Jewish school. Not that it was a Jewish school, but the community in which it was in was predominantly Jewish in Nassau County. And then when I moved to Suffolk County, I was like the one, there was 1, 2 other Jewish kids, whatever. And it's just it felt a little weird because, certain holidays weren't as recognized as maybe the other ones were. And you just kind of felt...
Rosh Hashanah just passed, everybody. So
Happy New Year. Shana Tovada, all my fucking Hebrew friends.
all your cousins.
all my Hebes,
Oh, God. Yeah, I hope everybody enjoyed their holiday.
Yom Kippur is coming up, so everyone, atone and make right with the world. And
is it one is about feasting and one's about fasting or something like that? Right?
The one's the New Year, and Rosh Hashanah is a New Year, and I'm not really strict about the shit, so don't quote me. But basically, it's the New Year, a fresh start, and then on Yom Kippur, you're supposed to atone for your sins, atone for what you've done, and that's why you fast.
Period. Yeah,
that's why you fast.
Cool.
You have to make right the wrongs that you've done, make right your connections with people, write your letter to God, and say, hey, I did this, this, and this. I'm sorry, and then kind of go into the new year on a clean slate and do good on the world.
It makes sense.
No, it does. And
do you follow? No, not really.
Not really.
You don't celebrate?
I mean, we do celebrate to some degree, but it's just hard, man, because we don't have all our family isn't together, and it's a little difficult. I'm not practicing in any sense. I'm more culturally. I'm more into the culture of it than anything else. Like I'm not big on God or anything. Like whatever. I don't necessarily think he's there. Like I don't. Then again, who the fuck? What do I know? But just like culturally and just as
I know
like kind of
you
a
can
more
find out.
Yeah. Well, just like culturally and as a moral
Right.
compass, you have teachings and lessons that it gives you. And not that you necessarily have to believe everything that was written in a Bible or a Quran or anything, but just like be a good person, don't fucking kill people, don't cheat on your wife
Killing
or your
people
husband.
is illegal, sir.
Yeah.
No one can do it.
Well, I'm just saying people do it all the time. But, it's just like, especially on this time of year when it's Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's like, yeah, think back about all the shit that happened in the year. Maybe reach out to people that you were like maybe an asshole to or you lost connection with and just try to be a better person.
Right.
And, the fasting on Yom Kippur sucks. I do it some years. I did it.
How long are you supposed to fast for?
Sunrise to sunset.
You complain about that?
You know what it is, man?
I know you're not a small guy, but
I'm usually at work, and the problem is too, like, if you're serious about it, like, you don't drink water, and it's like sometimes I'm just like fucking thirsty, and it's fucking hot out, and you're, and then you think it's like, man,
yeah,
I'm pretty,
but I think most people who like do practice probably don't work those days, right?
You're not supposed to,
right? There's religious accommodations.
Yeah, you're not supposed to,
like
but
that, so.
Whatever. I still gotta go to work.
I would use that, man. I would fucking.
But it's like, but it also teaches you, like, damn, like, there's people that don't have clean water in the world. There's people that don't have a meal every day. So it kind of brings you down to like the level of like
humbles you.
Yeah, it gives you some humility in that.
Right.
So that's why I kind of like that to some degree, but I don't think that it should be mandated on you if you're in a public school.
Right.
That's just my opinion on that, man.
But we do have public schools that close on holidays.
Yes.
Recognizing religious things. So, like, is that okay, too? Or should we just have school all year long?
Well, it's okay to some degree because, remember, they kind of focus on the biggies, but then, like, a lot of, like, the Islamic religions kind of get put by the wayside unless you're in a majority Islamic community.
Right. Well, when you
it's something that the community decides. It's something that the school decides. It's something that the administration decides.
When you go into, like, certain... Like when you go into like police departments, for example, like the big, like a lot of people could use religious accommodation to not work certain days. Like I had a conversation with somebody who was Jewish, like, hardcore Jewish. And he technically is not allowed to work like Saturdays or
Sabbath, Friday night and Saturday.
And so like he was able to, and he's like actually he's really Jewish. Like some people try and just get over, but he's like he's legit.
Like actually.
Yeah. So. Well, no, because there definitely is a group of people who try and scam. But no, he uses his religious accommodation to not work on those days, and there's a lot of holidays that certain people who are Muslim get off, but then when you look at like people who are Catholic, like you don't get Christmas off.
Right.
You don't get Christmas off. Why the fuck would you get Christmas off? You know what I mean? Like, so it's weird how certain religions are, like you were saying, like some get thrown by the wayside.
Right.
It's interesting to me, like how some religions are.
Because I feel like also the majority of people are Catholic or some sort of Christian. No, I know. But then if you give everyone off that day, who the fuck's going to work?
Well, you wouldn't give everybody off that day. The people who are Catholic would have off that day, and then the people who aren't that religion don't get off that day, just like the people who aren't Muslim don't get off on the Muslim holidays. Like,
why are you saying that weird?
Because that's how you say it, Muslim.
I just picture a moose.
How do you say it?
Muslim.
Oh no, that's not how you say it.
I don't pronounce it Muslim.
No, you say it Muslim.
Allah willing.
No. Yeah, no, you say it Muslim.
Muslim.
Yeah.
The infidels.
Do you work with anybody who's Muslim?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I work with quite a few people who are, and it's Muslim.
I believe you, but I say Muslim.
I've heard it both ways. You're just a white person from the from the Western
I'm just a racist. Is that what it is?
Cultural appropriating fuck.
My privilege comes out when I say Muslim.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm privileged to be able to say it the way that I want.
You said Yom Kippur. But everybody I know
Yom
knows
Kippur.
it. Yeah, exactly. So why'd you say it like that, Taylor?
Because I'm privileged and I can say it any way I want. You want the fucking? That's the real fucking answer.
Oh,
according to some people, my white privilege is showing, and I can say it whatever I want.
Wow.
Listen, man, that's what they fucking say.
When are we gonna have one of your wife's liberal friends on the show so we could have the gun conversation? I am going to.
I don't even want.
Dude, we need to do it.
I don't even want to fucking.
We need to do it. Pick. There's got to be like one that's not as bad, and there's got to be like the queen liberal. Like, do you have? Or they might want to be the king liberal.
I don't fucking know, man. I really don't. I doubt any of them listen to this podcast anyway.
No, they don't. But that's why we could say this right now, is that you need to get the like. There's like the head of the snake, and then like there's got to be like tentacles that come off.
Tentacles.
Just plop like a tentacle off, and like that's the one.
I don't even want to fucking get into that shit.
No, dude, we have to do it. The people want to hear it.
Ugh.
The people want it.
The people just want it's like they'll just make the popcorn and they'll just fucking sit down and
I want to hear it.
It just
yeah, of course it's entertaining. That's why people listen to this.
Yeah,
people don't listen to this because it's. I mean,
I don't even want to, man, because I don't want to fucking get my wife's friendships in trouble with.
Why would you get them in trouble?
Because
do they come to your house?
Because
do they see all the bullshit you have?
It's because of the way they fucking are, man.
But you just laid down some ground rules, dude.
Ground rules don't matter to liberals.
Of course
it devolves into fucking chaos and feelings and emotion.
But we can make sure it doesn't.
But the dead children, John. But the dead children.
Is that what they're gonna say? Is that what they're gonna say?
What about the kids? Why do you need this? What about the kids?
What about them?
Exactly.
But that would be my answer.
Exactly.
And have them explain while they're getting killed. But okay, do you know the statistics? Then you can start breaking down statistics, and that's what people want. People want to see you shut down the liberals. They want to hear it. I'm
not Ben Shapiro, man. I don't even want to fucking get involved in that shit. Everyone who listens to us knows what the deal is when it comes to the gun control debate. I don't have to prove anything to anyone.
I know you don't, but the people out there want to hear it.
Maybe I'll put the word out and see if anybody wants to.
Dude, it would be fucking great. We don't have to do it for a long time. Half hour. Ugh. I'll come up with some questions. That way you don't really know what's going on. She doesn't really know what's going on. And I'll just be the moderator, and I will shut it down if shit gets crazy. I'll just be like, okay, let's pause. But I won't. But I'll let everybody. We're gonna come up with ground rules.
You should see my face right now. It looks like I just ate sour grapes.
Yeah, you better. Speaking of grapes, we got those cotton candy grapes.
Oh yeah, they're really good.
Oh my god, it's the first time that my wife ever had them, and
it tastes like cotton candy.
I was telling her that I had them at your house.
Yeah,
your wife gave me one.
Yeah,
like years ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago. And we saw them in Stop and Shop.
Total fucking left turn on the conversation.
And it's so funny. Well, you said grapes.
Yeah.
But so it's crazy. She goes, oh, man, these are the cotton candy grapes. I'm like, you should totally grab them. She's like, oh, like, how much are they? I was like, oh, they're like $5.99 a pound.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Grapes, right? So I'm like, oh, that bag's probably like $15. So like she takes it, she goes over to like the scale, and she starts to laugh. And I turn the corner, and there's a fucking bag of those grapes. Just somebody
just left them there because they're like, fuck this price.
They didn't even put them back. I was like, they're probably. So she weighed them. They were $10, and she's like, I don't know, should we get them? They're expensive. I'm like, just get them. Like you keep talking about them, and they're really good. So whatever, we get them back here, and she tries one, and dude, she was like, holy fuck, like. Okay, if you've seen them in the store and you're like, that's bullshit.
Cotton candy grapes.
They fucking taste exactly like cotton candy. They're really fucking good. But
it's weird.
But they're like $1 a grape. So like you just get it one time to experience it and like never again.
Yeah, you give them to somebody as a gift or something.
There's somebody out there who like that's all the grapes they eat, guaranteed. Somebody who's like a billionaire. Like, you know what, I want grapes, but I want the most expensive grapes on the planet. But yeah, they're very fucking good.
Yeah.
But Taylor, you have to get the liberal person in here. I don't care who it is.
I'll
male,
try and put
female,
out a word.
It doesn't matter to me.
What happens?
Tell them that this is their chance.
It's disgusting.
I think that's all we have time for today.
Pretty much.
It's been
about an hour.
Well, about an hour.
Yeah.
Damn, man, the time flies.
It really does.
Sometimes it goes a little slow.
Time flies when you're just bitching about government, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for standing by while I did not have COVID. Even though I might have, but I didn't. Everyone thought I did, but I did not.
Probably had a cold or some bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much it. But the problem is when you go sick from work, right? Like you can't hang out with people. But
right.
people are probably, why? It's like because the way my job works is they can actually come to your house and like knock on your door and see. So you gotta be gentle the way you do certain things.
Yeah.
But
CYA.
Yeah. But yeah, I was sick for a little bit. I'm all better now. Taylor, thanks for coming by at this early hour.
Yeah, man.
And we'll see everybody next time. So until then, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Check us out: Facebook, Instagram, and Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you can find a podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay safe.
Thank you.